Hello, world. What's going on, people? So, my name's Ryan. I'll go by RJ, and yeah, that's what you'll know me as. Um, so I decided to start doing this. Um, I've been a truck driver for 20 years, on and off. Took a couple years off in between there to turn a wrench, do a few other odds and ends, but for the most part, about 15 years. That's all. That's all I've done is drive truck. Drive truck. Last 5 years, I kind of broke out into flatbed, step deck, that kind of stuff. And then last March, I ended up getting hurt. Was working for a really awesome company out of Wisconsin, and ended up getting hurt. Um, and everything just kind of, I was, got hurt in March, and like every guy does, he works through the pain and he keeps going. And, I had bills to pay, and I had mouths to feed and a family to take care of. And so, I kept going. Boss and I did what we could, locally or whatever, massage therapist, acupuncture, that type of thing. He finally, about June, beginning of June, he had ordered new trucks, and they were on their way in. The old iron was going out, and that was it. That was the last time I was in a truck. The old W9 went down the road, and I ended up going in, and I had one back surgery in December, and got another one coming in June. They don't think I'll be back to work until about October, so I don't know. It's So far, what's it been? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, December, March, April. Yeah, so like what? A year and 2 months. You'll have to excuse me. I'm not too quick on the uptake. Yeah, year and 2 months, something like that. That I've been laid up. Um, Now I, by nature, am a very, very ADD, very, very on the go type of person. You know, all I've been doing for the last 5 years is driving across country and paying the bills and taking care of the family. So I can't sit still. And then to top it off, you know I got issues with some depression going on, and some other things throughout the course of my entire life. So you get that all that compounding on top of the injury and not knowing what's going to come of it. It all kind of gets a little bit emotional after a while. Um, so yeah, I mean that's why I started. That's why I decided I was gonna start this, and maybe reach out to a few people that are in my situation, or a few people that maybe I can talk my way out of my head. It seems to work for the most part. Um, I don't know. Well, we'll see how this goes. It typically it seems to work, and if this works, and connecting with you people, and you guys, and like-minded individuals, and things like that. I mean, you know. So anyway, I figured what I would do is I started a free WordPress blog, as you can see it behind me up there on the scrolling a little banner. That was one of my splurges that I ordered off of Temu. That's one of my problems whenever I get laid up, or when I'm sitting at home for too long. I spend money. It's never a good thing. So yeah, there's a WordPress press blog up there. Down here, let's see. No, yeah, right there, down there in the left corner, you can see it too. No big deal, but I'll kind of what I plan on doing is every Thursday or Friday, sending out a video, and talking about the blog posts on from that Monday or Tuesday from that week. So I'll make a post on Monday or Tuesday, and then Thursday or Friday, I'll come on here, make a video, and I'll talk about it. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about it and a little bit more how I felt about it, or how I feel about the post, or. And every once in a while, I may just be having a bad day, so I may just come on here out of the blue and just kind of go off. It's one of those deals to where we kind of gotta see how it plays out. Nothing is ever I'll stick by a schedule once I come up with one, but otherwise, whatever I talk about is always going to be up in the air. So with that being said, we got Easter right around the corner. Happy Easter, everybody. I was in church last week with my fiance and my daughter. 6-year-old little girl. Love her to death. Amazing little girl. And she goes to the private Catholic school here in town. Small school, real close-knit church school, family oriented. Love it. Anyway, we were in church for the Stages of the Cross for a little play that they had put on. And, I knew I was having issues. I knew I was having issues. I knew I was having a hard time. I knew I was having a hard go of it, even without breaking down like I have the last couple days. But what I did not expect though was sitting in church and saying the prayers after each Station of the Cross and breaking down, starting to tear up. I mean, I couldn't get more than 2 or 3 words into the prayer and I just started breaking down. Now, I went to a public school up until 5th grade. 6th and 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Yeah, 6th grade. 6th, 7th grade is middle school. Yeah, 5th grade to a public school, and then from 6th all the way up to senior year, I went to a private Lutheran school. So it was, it was one of those deals to where, I'd been in church my entire life. Born and raised God-fearing. Grandma had read the Bible cover to cover, multiple times. You didn't dare cross Grandma, otherwise she's gonna beat your butt, pull your ears, and whatever else she could think of at the time. But yeah, it was. I had never broke down like that. I had never teared up like that trying to pray, being in church. So it was a very weird scenario for me. Very weird situation. The only one other time that did happen was when we had a demon at our old house. That kind of got into me a little bit too, but that's a story for another time. So, yeah, I went outside. And I took a couple deep breaths and, just kind of sat out there and wondered what the hell was going on. Went back inside, after a little while and sat down, and I think they were on Station 10 of the Cross. I sat down and did the hymn, sang the song, hymns with them and everything, and we came up to another prayer, and I tried again, and I couldn't do it. So finally I just gave up. And yeah, so that was really kind of weird. And then that was, after that, then that was when I had a few people tell me that maybe I should do something like this. Maybe I should do something like this and, touch base with other people out there. It kind of goes to show you that, regardless of why, why I was starting to tear up. Computer just went to sleep here for a couple minutes. Yeah, I mean, God fearing, like I said. So yeah, I really believe that, being in that church, I really believe God was, man upstairs was trying to tell me something, And our old neighbor from next door at the old house, they they had come to church to watch Sky because it's their congregation too. They had come to church to watch her daughter, and the old man, he asked me after service. He asked me, what was up, what was going on, and he knows that I've had a rough go of it. He knows that I've had that I've been having a hard time. And right away the minute I had said something to him about it, he's like, he goes, being in this place does that kind of thing to you. Well, yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, no, it hit home for me. It hit home, and it's funny. A lot of, I've never really been one to express my emotions. It was always very hard for me to express my emotions in anything other than like a movie or something of that nature. Always shit. Top Gun. Yeah, I'm tearing up. Cliffhanger. Oh, that sucked. Days of Thunder. Yeah, buddy. Can't forget Days of Thunder. But yeah, movies, shit like that. Stuff that guys tear up to. It's always been harder for me to tear up to real life stuff. And so when I, being in church there and started tearing up during the prayer, and it kind of hits home. You never have to. I guess from what I was getting at and what I've learned is just never be afraid to show emotion. That the other day, what was it, Wednesday? I had a hard day Wednesday, and jumped in my pickup, just drove down the road, went to the parking lot of the gas station down the road, and I sat there and just screamed. I screamed and yelled, and yeah, it felt good. It felt good to let it out. It doesn't help you understand the situation any better. And I knew sooner or later it was going to come to get me. Because like I said, for the last 5 years, I was on the road. I lived, as a truck driver, you live two different lives. You live two different lifestyles. You live the lifestyle that you have when you're on the road driving, and then you live your at home lifestyle. Now, a perfect example of that, when I first started driving, I graduated driving school in 2003. So for about the first 10 years of my driving career, first 10 years, somewhere in between there. Oh yeah. I tried and attempted pretty much everything out there. So, the last 5 years I made it home as often as I could, every weekend, every other weekend. Once in a while I was gone for a month at a time, but after a while you live your own life. So when I got laid up, and I held on for a long time, and I think it was this last diagnosis, this last MRI, that showed that the first back surgery did nothing for me, and it almost kind of looked worse in a way. I think after the diagnosis of that, I think is when I kind of fuck it. don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm going to school. I decided to start school in February. No, October. I started school in October, November, December. Yeah, yeah, no, November. November, I think. November last year I started school. Supply chain management. I take 20 years of transportation knowledge and experience, and blow it out the door. But so and I started doing it so I could keep myself busy, keep myself occupied. I'm learning, I'm learning shit, so that's cool, and I like learning. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I'll get into a swing of it. I reached out to a buddy of mine. He actually owns a really really kick-ass hat company. Young man, very good kid. Reached out to him, so he next week, Wednesday or Thursday, I'm gonna be getting some custom made ball caps from him, getting some swag from him, from his company, and we'll I'll start wearing one of those, and we got him to kind of hand out free stuff, and help him get his stuff off the ground, as well as keep keep the blog and everything rolling here. So yeah, I'm excited to get his products in here, and get him going. But anyway, yeah, you guys have a good night, and I thank you for watching. And yeah, don't be a stranger, huh? Later.